Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe wins his election in a landslide, yet this victory is tarnished with a record low turnout. To discuss this with me and more coming out of Japan is market reporter with Live Squawk, Kieran Williams. Welcome to Dukascopy, Kieran. Prime Minister Shinzo Abe called the snap vote to secure support for his Abenomics economic reforms, but despite the landslide victory, it was a record low turnout. Is there support there, or was it just a move to guarantee 4 more years before his popularity slips?
Well, I think that Abe sort of framed this as a referendum for the continuance of Abenomics. So he wanted to know how much support there was for Abenomics in order to go ahead for it. There's a quote. He said the election will be held to ask the public whether we'll move forward with Abenomics or end it. So he has framed it as a referendum. He said that in November, and that was when he announced the closure of Parliament, because, as you said, an election wasn't actually required until 2016. So Abe's actually gone against the initial public consensus because elections cost quite a lot of money, so that's a difficult thing for Abe. But I think the record low turnout was mainly due to the opposition being in disarray, really. There's no good alternative, and also weather was being cited as something that caused a lot of voters to not turn out, so I think that was an issue as well. But I do think that Abe did garner quite a lot of support, and this is also going to be important because in September there's going to be a leadership vote. So what this is going to do is going to line up the rest of the party behind him, so that when the leadership vote does come up, he should really breeze through that, because they know that obviously he's got the popular support of the rest of the people.
Abenomics was designed to help pull Japan out of 2 decades of deflation and kickstart its stagnant economy. But with Japan in recession, we have to wonder, has Abenomics failed?
I think Abenomics, the sort of massive money printing, is obviously only one part of it. There's a lot of fiscal spending, a lot of structural reform that Abe is trying to undertake in order to do that. So these sort of things include freeing up farming, healthcare, joining the Trans-Pacific Partnership. Another one was to amend the law to allow the Japanese military to engage in collective self-defense. So those are all things that Abe is trying to pledge in order to help the economy. It's not just the money printing. And I think we have to consider as well that you only actually need really low levels of inflation in order to erode the massive national debt that Japan have got. So Abe is almost stuck between a rock and a hard place. He has to find a balance between cutting spending and increasing these other monetary measures in order to try and erode the rest of that debt. And realistically, that inflation target is going to be very difficult to hit, especially with current projections. So I think, Abe, whilst he's good at spending, he's not so good at cutting. So the stimulus packages and the supplementary budgets do need to be adjusted slightly. I don't think you can necessarily say that Abenomics has failed, because it's this third arrow that a lot of people are putting emphasis on, especially people in Japan. They recognise that in order to get themselves out of this deflation, this situation they're in, they need a lot more than just free money, because all that money is going to do is it's going to help a certain section of the economy, but they actually need broad help across the whole economy.
Now looking ahead to the Bank of Japan interest rate decision on Friday, the bank kept its policy unchanged in November after increasing monetary easing on October 31st. What are you expecting to see after this data release?
So I don't think there'll be anything from the Bank of Japan. Obviously they're going to leave the annual addition to the monetary base at around 80 trillion yen. Since easing, there has been a bit of a depreciation in the yen, so that's obviously a positive thing for the Bank of Japan. However, there's been no positive change in the data points for November. So that Q3 GDP was obviously disappointing. That dropped them back into recession. Rumours of a strong regional increased capex, they failed to materialise. Obviously, a lot of analysts expected that. So the BOJ will focus on the Tankan survey this week. I think it's out either tonight or tomorrow night. The dip in energy prices, and also the renewed in spare capacity since the sales tax hike, because obviously that sales tax hike is still having a massive impact on the Japanese economy, so much so that Abe actually cancelled the second sales tax hike that was meant to be in October next year. And I think that Kuroda is still insisting that the 2% inflation target is in sight. Most analysts would completely disagree with that. I don't think that Abe is going to come anywhere near that target for the next few years. We've also had Abe's chief economic advisor arguing for another 25 billion yen $25 billion in additional cash handout to kickstart the economy. So I think that in this, the BOJ will likely stick to their usual refrains, which Abe loves, which is they're gradually reaching that inflation target and they're seeing positive moves across the economy. But I think realistically, people are going to be looking out for more easing next spring, because I personally can't see any light at the end of the tunnel in the current situation.
Thanks, Kieran. Great to speak with you. That's all from me for now. Thanks for tuning in and keep clicking back to Duke's Copy. Bye for now.